revolution starting inside. An instrumental part of Agora worldwide. Agora worldwide. Agora worldwide. Counter economics. Agorist strip. Black market click. Move a quick flip. Can't regulate this. Agorist strip. Black market click. Move a quick flip. Can't regulate this. Agorist.
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 Nexus. Agorist.
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 It's Brandon with the Agorist Acres podcast. I've got my great co-host Dag. How you doing, Dag?
Hey, what's up, Brandon? I'm doing all right, man. Hopefully not dying of COVID, but we'll see.
Hey.
My roommate got sick, and we don't know what it is or anything, but of course we're gonna assume it's COVID because it's funnier that way. I started getting a little bit of sore throat today, but that's okay. I've got a good immune system. I think if I get some sleep, I'll be okay, hopefully.
Get some of them vitamins.
Yeah, man. There's just too much shit to do, man. I was down for the last month. I can't be down for another however long.
Right.
So I'll fight my way through it, dude.
Hell yeah.
How's it going over your neck of the woods?
Become a super spreader. No,
Yeah, God willing.
Yeah, I'm pretty solid. I've just been busy, super busy as always. So I haven't done as much Nexus stuff as I'd like, but that's just kind of how the cookie crumbles. We should probably give a shout out to our sponsor, Presearch. And I just want to say, heartfelt thank you to them. I mean, not only are they a good service, but they've really kept Agorist Nexus alive the last year, and yeah, I just can't thank them enough. We wouldn't be nearly what we are today without them. So yeah, but great project again. Decentralized search engine, earn crypto as you search. Get away from Google and get away from Google and these big tech services as much as you can, because really they're not even private anymore. They're just arms of the government. So
yeah, it's unfortunate. So yeah, definitely big thank you for your service to them all around, just for existing, but especially for helping us out and everything. But yeah, man, yeah, I love them. definitely. I want one other quick announcement here before we get started. I was promoting a homesteading workshop, Skillshare thing with Texas Joe that we were supposed to do in Florida at the end of January, and that actually got canceled, unfortunately. So it looks like the next one is going to be in April in Texas, and we'll let you guys know about that. And we'll have Joe on again before then too to talk about it. Hopefully they'll be rescheduling one for Florida next year. I was really looking forward to doing it and getting to teach some people how to do how to raise chickens for food. But I guess it's something I can just do on my own. I've sort of been considering doing like a chicken workshop anyhow, like once a year. So I don't know, but anyway, so I hadn't talked to Joe since like October when I was planning, ordering the birds and everything for this event. And he'd been busy and I'd been busy and I hadn't listened to his show or anything. So I hit him up yesterday to, get some info about this workshop that's going on in 2 weeks. And I'll say before I say this, like, he's okay, but the motherfucker had a heart attack, dude, in November. Fucking damn near killed him, but he's okay. It happened to be at the hospital, when it happened. So that's why it's canceled. So, we can cut him some slack for canceling it for sure.
Yeah, just glad he's all right. And he does, he does enough work for 3 people. So, I can definitely see why he might be.
Yeah, it sounds like it might have been a bit stress related, which I get. I since I had my thing last month, like, it's the reason I haven't been keeping up on like anybody's podcast. I haven't been listening to podcasts. I've been trying to just, not be stressed, not have to worry about whatever bullshit's going on out there, so I've just been kind of unplugged. So I felt really bad that I didn't know that happened, but I talked to him and everything, and yeah, sounds like he's doing a lot better. So, but yeah, man, he actually did a show talking about it. I listened to it yesterday and tell him about the experience, and between my recent thing with my heart and like, I was there and my father had like his strokes and heart attacks. I was crying my eyes out, man. It was emotional. So it was really crazy. So yeah, big shout out to Joe, man. I'm glad you're glad you're still here with us, dude. And for everyone else out there, like if, yeah, man, I mean, if you notice something wrong with you, if your chest hurts, like don't play around with it. It could be serious. You know, he was having for like a week or so beforehand, his chest was hurting him real bad, and he's a fucking CPR instructor. Like, you know, he knew better, you know, but you know, when you're a man, it's easy to just write shit off, you know, or a tough one.
Yeah.
You know, it's easy to just write shit off, you know, but it's gonna be like, nah, it's all right, you know, pop an ibuprofen, I'll be good, you know. So yeah, it's you know, it's not out of reach for any of us. So but anyhow, I just wanted to let everybody know that if you were planning on coming out, obviously that's not gonna happen, but get with me if you are in the area and ever do want to learn about chickens. I'll be more than happy to teach you anytime, and we will get him on to talk about the next event though, because I think those events that he is doing is really incredible, and just the kind of thing that I'm all about, and us as agorists are all about. You know, we're, you know, decentralized, useful education, you know, community building, all that shit, man. So I really want to see more workshops like his going on, you know, all over the place. You know, freedom cells, etc. It's a great way to get with that kind of stuff. But yeah, that kind of stuff just tickles me like no other. Which might be a decent segue into our topic today. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. And I want to give a shout out to Joe too, and thank him for all of his service. And we're really glad that he's still here. And you know, I'm really glad that he shared the knowledge with us on our podcast of, you know, and stuff like that. So just thanks again to Joe, and we're glad you're okay, man. But yeah, our topic today is thinking like an agorist, and you know, I think it's important to share this, to have an episode like this, because it's, you know, I just see negativity all over the place, you know, when the state starts to do stuff, and then everyone's like, oh my gosh, you know, or you know, just the negativity that comes out of it. I'm like, you know, there could be a silver lining here, guys. So and I think kind of just like thinking like an agorist has like, it's been so proactive, like for me, myself, like, it's, you know, instead of just getting mad at the state, it's like, you know, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. And, you know, I definitely see some opportunities here instead of just this like massive amount of, you know, negativity and hate there. I see positivity out of the situation, and opportunity. So I think thinking like an agorist is not only crucial for our survival, but also I think it's just a proactive way of dealing with the state, and it gives my life more, you know, from my personal experience, it's given my life more positivity. So
You're here.
yeah. So I guess we should go over some examples, or, you know, I don't know how you want to present this, Dag, but you know, like if the state were to, I don't know, you know, ban something, or like ban tobacco, or even just raise massive amounts of tax on it,
anything they do on a daily basis.
Right. Yeah. Anything they do.
Well, that's a great place to start, because this is something that I get a lot. You know, I'll listen to whatever libertarian podcast, you know, and I mean, this is valid. They'll be validly upset about something the government did, but let's say it's something like, oh, they did some financial thing where that's just going to make you know, Social Security insolvent 5 years earlier. Oh my God, it's such a terrible, stupid decision, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, when I hear that, it's like, yeah, that's what they do. You know, it's like, and it doesn't mean that, you know, it's right that they do that, or that it's not valid that this person is upset about it. But it's just like, man, like why waste your energy getting upset about it? Because it's like, we know they do stupid shit, or whether or not it's stupid or purposeful, whatever, you know what I mean? We know they do stupid shit. We know they're gonna do stupid shit. We know they're going to continue to do terrible shit. So instead of getting too upset about it. It's like, well, what can we do to make our life more resilient? What can we do to make our community more, more resilient? And in fairness, like we all have our bugaboos, right? So like, like for me, it's like the war or wars, war in general, but drug prohibition and, police abuse, mass incarceration, stuff like that. Like, yeah, like when there's something comes up and then, I see on the news and they're talking about how, oh, we can't legalize pot because of whatever, like I get upset. You know what I mean? I do. But like, so we all have our bugaboos. In fairness, we're human. We have emotion, right? But yeah, the ultimate thing is like, okay, well, what the fuck ever, like I'm not shocked, that they're doing terrible things. So what can we do to mitigate this, make our life better or make it not affect us, and so I don't know, that's sort of how I see a lot of that.
Yo, it's Jeremiah Harding, and I got some questions for you. Do you need to relax, network, vibe, and become better informed about how to survive the coming disastrous economic collapse? Anarchapulco is your must-go destination in 2022. This could be your last chance to go, since the powers that shouldn't be want to lock down the entire planet with another COVID variant, and coming soon an environmental lockdown. So if you want to spend February 14th to 18th, 2022 in the sunny climes of Acapulco, Mexico, relaxing, partying, and eating great food with fellow freedom enthusiasts, feel free to head over to agoristnexus.com/ACA to sign up for your tickets today and use code NEXUS to get 10% off your entire purchase. That helps us bring you the content you deserve, and it helps you get the getaway you deserve in 2022. Now let's get back to that content.
Yeah. And that's a great place to start. So like if
the tobacco example was great. Yeah.
Like, so if the state were to raise massive amounts of tax on tobacco or even ban it, you could just, a proactive response or an the agorist approach or thinking like an agorist, be like, okay, well, I'm just going to grow my own tobacco. And
how can I set up a market for this shit?
Exactly. And start selling it. And, it's really just things like that. And I don't know if, I don't know how long this episode's going to be because I don't know exactly how many, examples and details we can go through. But I think that a very important topic that I wanted to start on was price controls. And for me personally, I've got like, I used to be, I'd say like 10 years ago, I was just like, oh my gosh, like when we see hyperinflation, we're going to start to see price controls because historically that's usually the case, right? Like that's what happened with the Roman Empire and stuff like that. And the Romans even made a law to where like whatever your dad does, you have to do that. So if they made price controls in a certain sector, you couldn't leave that sector because it was not profitable for you. They pretty much made you have to lose money in that sector. And, or you'd only sell like one item a day and focus on other stuff or, at least try to get out of it somehow. But a lot of people were negatively affected during that era of time. And but yeah, so I guess like my main fear was price controls for a while, and for good reason. But I think now I'm not as worried about it. And if it happens again, like I don't want people to be less free, right? Like I don't want the slavers to make everyone's life worse. That's not why we're agorists. Like we want people to be more free. So, but again, I think that we should be proactive and positive in our responses. And so, if they implement, and I do go over this in my article, A Silver Lining to a Very Dark Cloud. And, but anyways,
well, you can only you can only control so much, you know what I mean? Like, and that's especially since we don't, believe in politics or voting or whatever, right? That it's like, we recognize that we can't control what the fuck really happens in Washington, at least not to, much of an extent. So it's like, yeah, dude, like what can we do? What improvements can we make? Sorry, I just got to say this real quick. Because we mentioned tobacco thing. We've talked about this several times. History of the show about like the menthol cigarette bans and stuff. And there was the one that they did in Boston a couple years ago. And we talked about that in detail in an episode. Well, I have a buddy who he went there recently, and he said, yes, that is true. Like, you can't. They have signs like on convenience stores that you're not even supposed. If you have menthols in your pocket, you're not allowed to come in their fucking store with menthols in your pocket. But weed's totally legal there. You can carry a bag of weed around, but you can't carry a pack of menthol cigarettes. That's just insane to me. Obviously, I'm not saying weed should be illegal, obviously, but that's just so fucking insane to me that that's happening and they fucking enforce it. Something so piddly like that. But that's an easy one to agorist your way out of. You know what I mean? It's somebody rolling around with a bunch of menthols in the trunk of their car. But that shit like that's just a great example too of how the state just fucks shit up for everybody. Like convenience store owners who can't sell menthols, and then the convenience store owners who like lobby against it being illegal, and the ones who lobby for it being it's a whole fucking thing. But yeah, man, price controls. Price controls are that. It's really one of my favorite like examples of like agorism in action is when you get anything like price controls or what along a similar vein, a monopoly, which, we'll say like a monopoly means that, only one person's allowed to sell something. But like the key word there is like allowed, right? Legally, only one person's legally allowed to sell something. So, no matter what, there's never an actual monopoly on a product because somebody's selling that shit, under the table, selling it sideways, working around the system. And it's Agorist that keeps fucking goods and services moving and flowing when the government does some fuck shit, and tries to stop it or tries to create a cartel. It's the black markets, it's the gray markets. That's where those items are still going to be sold. Anything from food to luxury items to obviously drugs and the like. There's shit gets around. People want to buy something, someone's going to sell it. So, no matter what the fucking state does, it's, I don't necessarily want to say agorist, but people, doing agorist actions, are the ones who keep the fucking world moving, keep people alive, keep people fed, keep people in California with generators. Did you see this shit the other day or last week? There was a snowstorm in California. People were without power for days. And this was like a few days after they announced that they're banning personal gas generators. I'm like, so what the fuck are these people supposed to do with no power for days because the government controlled, power lines or power company can't keep them in power? And hey, man, I'm not saying that it's possible to do in a snowstorm, but that's just funny that it's definitely like the government will fucking shoot you in the leg, and shit, they're not even giving you a crutch in this circumstance. They're just shooting you in the leg and leaving you in the snowbank, dude. It's fucking crazy. But I was like, dude, the irony, if that's the right word to use here, the irony of that they ban gas generators and a week later there's a weather event that knocks out power, is just so fucking funny to me. It sucks for the people who live there, but hopefully they're saying, fuck you, I'm using my damn generator.
Well, yeah, that, and then they're like, oh, we're having problems with the electrical grid with all these new electric cars, when they're the ones who would encourage incentivize people to buy electric.
They're the ones with the biggest laws. They're like trying to make it where, you have to have electric lawnmowers and shit like that, which in a lot of instances is fine. I used to have an electric lawnmower as a kid. I honestly liked it. It was a small lawn, it was no maintenance, it was easy. But I started knowing they'd be forced to use one. But yeah, any of the monopoly stuff, any tariff, any embargo, any ban, any of that shit, the Agorists keep it moving, like the ultimate like middle finger to the state, dude. Or we don't even have to say the state. We can say the big corporate interests that try to create the monopolies and the cartels and stuff. Fuck you guys too. I'm not against big business. I'm against big business that tries to use the state to fucking hold its power. Fuck y'all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Victor Coman and I. If you go to my handle, Agorist in, or I guess that's the Agorist Nexus handle. but he shared a very good tweet on like corporations and stuff. You guys should check that out if you want to follow me there. But yeah, going back to price controls, it's like they like for me personally, I especially 10 years ago, there's like this fear behind learning about well, I guess it's more than 10 years now, but there's this fear behind like, not only hyperinflation, but what government does during hyperinflation, and that's usually price controls. And me learning about it, there's just like this, like, oh my gosh, there's going to be shortages, there's going to be this, there's going to be that. And I think me as an agorist, I look at it and I say, okay, there are going to be some positives with price controls. And it's like, how can you think that way? And it's like, well, everybody in that sector, like they don't want to sell at a loss. Okay. And because it's not sustainable. Like you can't do that forever, because if you were, right, like you would just bankrupt yourself and like starve yourself out of business. So the positives with price controls are that everybody in that sector becomes a counter economist. And this is what I learned from Konkin's book, Counter Economics, from the back alleys to the stars, or whatever the exact title is. But everybody in that sector becomes a counter economist. Everybody in that sector starts selling outside of the state, and every transaction is now hidden, and they're not even, and because they can't hide transactions, they're you can't if you're selling your product for something that's a higher price than what's legally allowed, then you can't say, hey, I'm taxing this item too. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, the positive aspect to this is that not only does everybody in this sector get pissed off at the state, and they no longer think the state is legitimate, because it's like, how can you force me to lose money? But also everybody in there starts selling counter economically. Everybody in there no longer gives money to the state. So really, it's just like, in the end, the state clamping down, no matter what it is: regulation, tax, price control, money printing, whatever the state does, there's a equal and opposite reaction. And the more that they clamp down, the more that they suffocate themselves. So, and suffocate the state. So I don't know what you have to add to that, Dag, but
well, yeah, man, price control, to keep on that is something that, lately I think there's more of a fear of, right? Because it definitely seems like there's a lot more inflation. I say seems like, there's obviously numbers to back it up, but what the fuck do I know? Definitely seems like inflation is, ramping up and happening and becoming apparent to everybody, except Joe Biden or whatever. But
there's also an article recently that came out, and there's talk of there's talk in like opinion pieces of like why we need price control.
Yeah, man.
That's why this is extremely relevant. But yeah, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, no. That's just what I was getting at, dude. Is they're starting to prep people for it, and in public. I don't know if it was specific the Atlantic, but it seems like something that would be in the Atlantic. Saying, oh yeah, price controls could help, and here's why. Which I don't have to bother to read the articles. I know that, so I can't cite specifically what they're saying, but I'm gonna guess. Oh, here's how they could help. We just tell them they can't raise prices. Boom, the economy's fixed. Well, we know why that stuff doesn't work. For a variety of reasons. One, there's still obviously costs that can change. To make it like unprofitable to sell that product. at that price, which ultimately means nobody gets it, so instead of, oh, well, only the rich can afford it, well, guess what, now nobody gets it. I like the idea of we might have talked about this recently, but like with healthcare stuff, they're like, oh, we need universal healthcare because otherwise only rich people can afford to have this, that procedure or the other. But it's like, well, that's the reason that universal healthcare scares me, because it's like, even if something's really expensive, but if you can pay for it, you can get it, then nothing's out of the realm of possibility, right? Like if you need that 50 grand for your grandma's operation, or they're gonna have to put her down, like there's a possibility you can come up with that one way or another, be it GoFundMe, be it working, be it, I mean, I don't endorse this, but robbing a bank, what the fuck ever, you can get that money, right? When it's just like, the government's just like, no, we're not going to do that. You have no option to pay for it, then it's like, fuck, that's really fucking scary, which ultimately is, that's a huge price control monopoly, fucking cartelized thing, it's all related, right? I mean, whether it's, a direct price control or just, just over regulating a industry, it all has sort of the same effects, right? It makes those services unhavable for basically anybody, and if anything, a lot of times it does force it to be like this, so especially like a medical thing, right? So then it's like, okay, well, now you got to pay 250 grand for some like black market medical procedure that I don't know, man, I'd be a little nervous about, because it's not that I'm obviously I love black market stuff, but there are certain things where it's like that does make it more dangerous, like, yeah, I think black market medical procedures probably aren't the safest thing in the world. You know what I mean? I'd much rather go to Mexico where it's not black market, it's just, they have less regulation on it. So there's better prices and there's, there are good doctors because there's actually a market, instead of just a cartel that picks and chooses who the doctors are going to be. So, that's kind of, I guess it's kind of a good example. And I'm sorry, I'm just sort of thinking out loud here as we go. But it's kind of like, it's kind of a good example, and obviously you're on this train, is why you moved there. It's kind of a good example of how, like, what am I trying to say? Just because a lot of times we like to say that like, oh, government regulation can have its silver linings, right? That it pushes things into the black market, which might be a good thing in some circumstances. But like in the circumstances like medical care and like Tijuana or the medical tourism industry, the lack of regulation is just making for better products and services for people, as opposed to there being so much regulation that it's in the black market, which in some circumstances gives people better products or services. But with medical stuff, I don't know, man, it just gets weird. Like, yeah, I'd rather go to Mexico than, and get something done than a back alley procedure done, on the black market here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey guys, quick pause here to tell you about our sponsor, Devault Cryptocurrency. Ticker symbol DVT is a low cap coin with a market cap around 900,000. So there could be room for opportunity here. Not financial advice, but we really like this project.
Yeah, the Devault core wallet is one of the best I've ever seen. Very user-friendly, super easy to use with cold staking rewards. So it's like getting interest. They're working on privacy with Terraform, also DeFi to decentralize and replace financial institutions.
So go ahead and check them out over at devault.cc and get you a Devault core wallet today. Also, be sure to check out the show notes to find exchanges that they are traded on. With that said, let's get back to the show.
I think another thing too is that price controls are on the horizon, and I believe that they're on the horizon. When we see hyperinflation, we'll see all of these, especially at SJWs. Oh, I can't get my, my soy or whatever, my tofu. But
well, that's the thing, is it's going to be in industries and products and services that people use every day. So the biggest thing with price controls that we probably see every day and don't realize that there's so much price controls going into them, it's like gas prices, because the regular Joe Schmo who don't know shit about economics, he's going to be clamoring for price controls. You know what I mean? I've got family members who they're not very good at economics, and if there's something's too expensive, that's their solution. The government needs to make it not as expensive. And I'm like, let's think this through. Let's talk this out and figure out if that's really going to achieve the thing that you wanted to. Oh, great example was the what was the internet thing, that they were trying to do a few years ago, that of course had the name the Internet Freedom Act or whatever. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the whole net neutrality.
Net neutrality, that's it. Thank you. Talking to my old man, dude. He's like, man, they need it. My internet's too expensive. He's got Spectrum, one of the big monopoly companies that have it, and he's like, they need to pass that thing because then we'll all pay the same amount, and I'm like, you think that means your internet's going to be cheaper? I'm like, no, what you want is an option to pay less because you don't use Netflix. You don't do, online video gaming. You should be able to get by with a $15 a month internet bill. But what in reality is going to happen is a dude who's streaming Netflix and playing video games all day long ends up paying way less than he should, right? In the circumstance. And of course, the poor person who doesn't use much ends up paying way more. But that's his solution, man. We need government to come in and tell them they can't charge much, or we all have to pay, whatever the thing is they were pitching at the time. And it's like, dude, that's the exact opposite of what you want. What you want is a market, and you don't have that. So anyhow, the point I'm getting at,
you don't have a market because
you'll get people clamoring for it. Yeah, it's the regular people, and it's on these products and services we use every day, and gas prices are one of those. Like you'll drive around and you'll notice, oh, how come today every gas station is the exact same price for gas? Oh, because there's, for some reason, the state said it has to be that way for this week, which happens all the time, at least in Florida, but yeah, so that's where I think we'll see it first. And I think it'll be clamored for, by the majority of people, because it will be like food, gasoline, the shit we use every day.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, the government made, the reason why there's, most likely why there's a problem in the first place is because the government made it that way to begin with. And then it's like, okay, well, now we need, because the government created this problem, now we need the government to come in and fix it. And it's like, no, that's, you can't expect the person who created the problem to come in and try to come in and fix it with their, violent, obsolete approaches. And, I think so. I think what I was trying to say earlier was that price controls, at least to me, I believe that they're on the horizon. So it's like, okay, and because they are coming, we have to be like, okay, what are we going to do to be able to combat this later on? And it's like we know of the positives of price controls. Right, is that there's going to be all of these other markets, all of these other, free markets that are created because of it. But there are going to be negatives like shortages. And so I think like one of the best ways to combat price controls right now is to basically just, be proactive, know that it's coming, and stock up on shit. I didn't even really have to, like during the whole toilet paper crisis, I didn't even really have to worry about it that much because I had a good stock of stuff, so, and then there was like issues with like, meat prices and stuff like that. And, once all the meat prices were raised, it's like, well, I had moved at that point. So, but just seeing the advantages down here with like local supply chains, it's like nothing's, very few things are corporate. Unfortunately, there are, massive corporate entities here, and you can tell that they work hand in hand with the state, because it's like, if you want to enter Walmart in Mexico, or if you want to enter OXXO in Mexico, it's like, we want to apply all state mandates and, wear your mask and hit the temperature thing. And, to where it's like all these mom and pop shops here, they're just trying to survive. They just want customers. They're not going to ask you to throw on a mask. They're not going to ask for your temperature. They're not going to ask you to sanitize your hands, nothing. So, and so the fact that a lot of things down here are you've got this local supply chain. It's like, okay, I think a major problem with supply chains in the US is that it's come to the point to where if something is marked as sold in their inventory, that they restock that one item within
just in
24
time.
to 24 to 48
Yeah.
hours.
Just in
So
time
the-
inventory, is that what it's called?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So if there is like this, so if there's this mad rush, it's like they're not exactly as prepared for it, to where when you have local supply chains, and down here everyone has chicken and some roosters, and I could go to 5 neighbors and buy a bird if I want to, and be just fine. So there's more of like this. I guess mom and pop shops or old school grocery stores used to have a bigger supply of stuff.
Right,
So
like,
that if they
can
couldn't
you-
get
can you
something,
check
they
in the
would
back?
have.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
there's no back anymore.
Yeah. So now there's, they used to have this like 3 or 4 day stock of stuff. So that something, was sold, they could, or if they couldn't get something right away, that they would still have the inventory and the backlog to be able to still provide for their customers, to where that's not even the case nowadays. Supply chains are so exact, and and I think they're kind of weaker because of that. Go ahead.
No, you're right. It's a weird place, and I tried to write an article talking about this like a year ago, and I don't know. I can do instructional articles. Like I can't get cerebral, but anyhow, we'll try here. But it's funny because like what you're describing, the just in time inventory or whatever. It's like in like a perfect world, like that's amazing and that's efficient and that makes sense. If the logistics are there and the supply chain's there and everything, that's great. But of course, whenever you get one little hiccup somewhere in the supply chain, then it's so easy for that whole thing to come crashing down, right? And that's the weakness in it. So it's like in an ideal situation, like that's great. I mean, in my opinion, I think that's awesome, but
absolutely.
When we have situations like, the world catches a cold, and things grind to a halt, that causes a lot more problems for people involved in those bigger, more quickly moving supply chains than someone like you're describing, where man, we got the store down the way and it's got a warehouse on it. There's there could be more actual security in that sense sometimes, and then ultimately we are to take it in our own hands too, of keeping around what we need, having a community to support us if we do run shy of something, who can I trade with, or just having a 3D printer so you can just make it yourself. That'd probably be really nice out in the boonies there too, being able to just print you something up. I know it comes in handy for me out here for sure.
I think the on-time supply chains, I think they would be great without the state. I mean, because the state is the one who pretty much causes most shortages, whether it's with embargoes, tariffs, what regulations, taxes, price controls, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They're the main cause of shortages, and the market usually knows what to do when there are shortages. So, but I think what I want to get across is that without the state, I think on-time supply chains would be where it's at.
Yeah.
Because you're always something from your inventory is always leaving and coming exactly when you need it to, and you're always providing the freshest, if it's a good that's like perishable or whatever,
mm-hmm.
You're providing the freshest, the product at the freshest and best time every single time. So I mean it is preferable to do that way, but when you have a state government, on time supply chains can be very definitely be wary of them. So
one other thing that I think is a silver lining to things like price controls and stuff is I think that and I'm just inflation in general, is that it definitely makes crypto much sweeter of an item, because that's a real big safeguard against that shit. If you're holding, whatever coin of your choice, preferably one that people accept, then when inflation happens, man, you're just getting richer, or I mean, I guess depending how you want to look at it, but the compared to US dollars. But you're just doing better because it, obviously puts your crypto in more demand, which does mean it has more value to it, whether that be in relation to US dollars or however else we would judge that. So I think it just makes the whole idea of crypto much sweeter. Hopefully it puts it into more into the hands of people who might actually, use it on a more regular basis. I think it just makes it more of a necessity, for that to be an option for people. So that's really great, because the more people that get on board with that, the more they start realizing that, USD is trash. I think that'll really advance things all around, both for freedom, both for human prospering, and thirdly, for just agorism in general, and I mean, just like anything, and you'd sort of alluded to this earlier, like when there's like an industry, for instance, goes under because of some government fuckery, like there's a lot of pain at first, and there isn't almost any time that things get better, right? Like if we talk about like ending a war, right? When the state, we want them to end that war, the states in this war, end this war, whatever fucking country you're over there fucking up, end this war. When they pull out, a lot of people are probably going to die as a result of them pulling out, right? Like there was a lot of that went on in Afghanistan, Vietnam, etc. But ultimately, we want them to fucking pull out. Like, yeah, there's going to be some pain, but it's going to be better, So I think a lot of this kind of stuff is, when we talk about silver linings, I definitely want to say like I recognize that there's going to be pain and there's going to be people who hurt from a lot of this stuff, but hopefully it'll end up with things being better, more freedom, for all of us, etc. And if we can't have freedom for all of us, then fuck, man, along these same lines, it's those of us who are willing to make it for ourselves and take it for ourselves. That's one of the main reasons that I love agorism, is because anybody can do it. It can improve anybody's life. You can do it to whatever capacity you're able to, or your risk tolerance allows, or whatever, but I just think it's like the most like direct action that, we can do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in a society of slavers, you have to take freedom into your own hands. You have to try to provide freedom for yourself. And, and I definitely believe that, especially when things become more tyrannical, it's not only going to be a want, but it's going to have to be, it's going to be a necessity to be able to survive. You're going to have to try to create more freedom for yourself. And, that's kind of what we saw during the black market in the Soviet Union. And there's other examples of that too. But I wanted to get into something that you had said that really kind of hit me on the head was, like you were saying USD is trash and all this other stuff. And, I really want to emphasize that and I agree 100% with everything that you said. But I want to emphasize that the USD and pretty much every global fiat currency is, but especially USD is blood money. It's backed by violence. It's and just using it creates, gives these slavers more power. It gives them the ability to start these wars. And if everyone just overnight stopped using them, stopped using fiat currencies, we would have a society like no other, and they wouldn't even be able to fund these wars anymore, because if nobody's using it, them printing it into existence wouldn't even do anything. So you can print it into existence, but if nobody wants it and nobody will accept it and nobody's going to use it, it doesn't matter how much of it you're going to be able to print at the end of the day. So you're not, they're not going to be able to fund their war machines. wallets. So I think just by not using it, you are, you know, a hero in my opinion. You're not touching, you know, blood money. You're not supporting the slavers. You're not helping these slavers commit wars and you know, try to help their friends make money and so on and so forth. And yeah, like you know, I love what Dag said about cryptos, but I also want to emphasize that that, you know, maybe have some physical too. You know, I love crypto. Everybody knows I'm super hot on crypto, but I don't think I stress the you know, the physical aspect of you know, having some extra coins that are gold and silver on, you know, in your personal inventory. And you know, the you know, and I'm super bullish on physical silver. Like, you know, don't trust a third party. I think, you know, Wendy McElroy wrote an extremely great article on the third party. I can't think of the name of the article. I'll try to find it here in a minute. It's like the trusted third party
trust
article.
third party problem, I think it's called, or something like that.
Yeah, by Wendy McElroy. Great article. But you know, don't trust a third party to hold your crypto, because, you know, at the end of the day, can you go in there and check their vault and make sure that it's yours or whatnot? When you have it yourself, you know you have it. There are security concerns to that too. So, you know, I don't want to necessarily tell you guys what I do to you know, make sure that my stuff is secure, but there's all kinds of advice on YouTube you can look up. I think there's like, well, I'll let you guys look up you know, how to store physical gold and silver, but yeah, I think it's crucial. Like, if the power does go out, you still have something that's worth something. And that, and everyone here should be absolutely bullish on silver. Everybody listening to this, and I'm going to tell you why here in a sec. I cannot now. Mexico is the biggest producer of silver in the world. Let that sink in. They are number one in terms of producing silver. And I cannot find a single silver bullion here in Mexico. That's how bullish you should be. That's how much of a shortage there is of silver. And I think why the price is so cheap is just because of manipulation and paper silver, them creating paper silver to create an artificial demand, or create an artificial supply of silver, creating less demand for it. And you know, so I can't tell you just how bullish on silver I am, but I mean, it's incredible. I live in the number one producer of silver, and I can't stress this enough. And I can't find silver. Like, I can find cheap silver jewelry and stuff, but I mean, to find a you know,
it's just shovel and pickaxe.
Yeah, exactly. To find like the high quality, you know, ounces of silver bullion, I can't find it anywhere. So yeah, we'll definitely let that sink in. Silver is not that expensive. I mean, I think you can get a piece of silver, a physical piece of silver, for about $30, around $30 right now.
I think that's about what I paid last time.
Yeah, somewhere in there. And so even if you're buying one piece of silver a week or something, I think that that's a positive approach. Or you don't have to do it all at once. You know, buy a single can of, you know, take your pick, soup or whatever.
Oh yeah. All right, let's take a quick second to shout out Agorist Acres Seeds. AgoristAcres.com stocks a variety of seeds for your garden or homestead. They also have really cool packaging instead of those silly paper envelopes.
Buy seeds with crypto, support the counter economy, and become self-sustaining today. Agorist Acres offers fast shipping, so you can get started right away.
Make sure you use code Nexus10 at the checkout for 10% off of your orders. Also, they will donate a portion of the sale to Agorist Nexus, helping to bring you all the great content you expect. And all right, let's get on with it. I think what's on sale, man. I see something on sale. I grab a couple extra cans or whatever. Probably not going to eat these canned peas. It's not exactly my favorite thing to bust out for dinner on a normal night, but they're 70 cents today. So I'm going to grab a couple and, just a couple at a time. And dude, seriously, before you know it, like you do that. And before you know it, you have a stack of food. It happens quick. It really does.
Yeah. Yeah. The little stuff, it adds up.
Yeah.
It
1 or 2
really
extra
does.
cans, especially with something you use anyhow. If you're going to buy 2 normally, buy 4. Stick the other 2 in the back of it. If nothing else, when you run out one night and it's like, oh man, I'm out of this shit and I got to make dinner and I don't want to run back out. It's like, oh, never mind. I got my reserves. Like we've got our prepper pantry, and once every couple of weeks I go in there for something to use that day, because I'm like, what? I'm pretty sure we've got a can of cream of mushroom soup. Let me go check, So, it's just, it doesn't necessarily have to be for Armageddon or for when, the big one comes or anything like that. Sometimes it's just, sometimes being prepared just makes your life more convenient on a day-to-day basis too, which is great. I actually just bought some silver, believe it or not, but it's not like bullion or whatever, but I just bought some silver on Amazon. But it's for like industrial uses. I'm learning to make, how do you pronounce it? Colloidal silver. Colloidal.
Oh yeah, colloidal.
Yeah, colloidal silver or whatever. So I just had to buy like some silver wire to make that with. But it was just weird. I was buying because I've never bought like precious metals on Amazon or for industrial purposes, before. So it was weird buying prime silver, But anyhow, yeah, I haven't looked at any physical coin shops in a while for anything. We've mostly ordered it, but I haven't checked any physical coin shops in a minute. I probably should around here and see if there's anything around. What I'd like to get a hold of, or some of like the old dimes and quarters with the silver in them.
Yeah, most of the coins
or something.
Yeah.
Because what's cool about those is it's like they're easily verifiable, right? It's like, yeah, it's a dime. It's how much silver is in it. The weight. It's probably legit because it looks like a dime. Because like I've heard reports of people buying silver, bullion from somewhere, and they get it and it ends up being not good silver or kind of fake or something. You know what I mean? So it sort of takes that kind of out of it.
There's a place that that I like. It's they're pretty reputable, and I've never heard anything bad about them. Is JM Bullion is what it's called.
Okay, cool. I wasn't gonna throw it out there since they're not paying us, but yeah, I guess to provide value to our listeners. Yeah, that's I'm not gonna say I buy silver from them, but I will say that they, they're awesome. They have like free shipping on anything over $100. They've got really good, really nice selection. A lot of times, lots of different coins, lots of different sizes. And they have a lot of different metals too. They do, the silver, the gold. They have like platinum and stuff as well. They used to have copper too. Like you could get like copper bars, in case you need to make change from a silver purchase, I guess. But yeah, that's my recommendation as well.
Yeah, and I mean they've got I can't find a bad review on their metals. They all seem to be legit.
Yeah, and I heard if you have issues, like you can get a hold of them. I've heard very good things from them from a lot of people I really trust. So
they seem to have very good prices. So yeah, I like them. And that's kind of who I recommend. But yeah, I think that is the one thing where crypto takes the cake is, how do I know that this is an actual Ethereum or an actual Bitcoin or
Yeah.
something like that. Well, it's pretty easy to verify, right? To where it's metal, it's some kind of precious metal. It's like, how do I know that this is not actually like an ounce of gold or an ounce of silver, or something like that? So, I think the Canadian coins are pretty reputable to go that route. And like most, if you look at most silver bullion, it's just like 0.999. Well, Canadian silver, and I'm talking about the Canadian silver coins, it's 0.9999. So there's 4 nines there instead. So it's even like, so there's even, that's how detailed they are. They do that extra 0.9. And they're pretty reputable. So if you can get even the new, they even make the Canadian coins. They even make the new Canadian silver coins. Again, they're not the same value as what their price. Like, one of their full ounce silver coins will say like $5 on it or whatever. It's not $5. It's actually worth. The metal in it alone is worth 30, at least $30. So don't take don't take the silver coins for their face value. But
do you remember seeing floating around years ago now, this guy was walking around, I don't know, New York City or someplace, and he was offering people either like a Hershey bar or an ounce of silver, like a 1 ounce silver bar, and like a 99% of the people or whatever, like ridiculous number, took the Hershey bar instead of the silver bar. And they're like, well, what would I even do with this? And so I don't know if that's just like a testament to America's high time preference or just their retardation on knowing what money is, or what kind of value silver would have, like I don't know, like I remember when I was a kid, like I had like some of the old JFK like $50 that were like silver or whatever. And yeah,
you can't even find those now.
Yeah, they sat in my parents' safe, and I was like, well, it's $3. Let's go buy $3 worth of shit. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know that it was, actually like $100 worth of silver, because yeah, I mean, and I don't know, man. I mean, the most financial education I learned in school was how to write a check. I remember a class in high school where we wrote like 1,000 fake checks because Lord knows I needed that. But yeah, man,
yeah.
It's silly. But yeah, I remember that old video, and at the time I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. And now looking back, I'm like, wow, that's really funny.
Yeah, I had a ball when I first saw that. Yeah, and I did see that where he was offering a Hershey's bar and a silver bar, and most people were like, I want the Hershey's bar, and I'm like, you people are just crazy. Like, the amount of value that you're being offered, and you're taking candy bar. But
how hungry are you? It might be worth whatever an ounce of silver was worth at the time, probably like $15. Hey, I've been willing to pay $15 for a candy bar in the right state of mind.
But yeah, I mean, you're being offered real money or some candy. So I mean, take the real money for sure. But or what has been historically real money. But yeah, I think that's pretty much, unless you got something else, Dag.
No, not really, man. I think we covered everything. I think we did pretty good on our time too. So
let me get I got one from the evil JP Morgan.
Ooh, okay, cool.
I don't think it's exactly true because I believe silver is money too. And now crypto, but he wasn't alive when crypto was in place. But his quote is, "Gold is money. Everything else is credit." JP Morgan, 1912.
Nice.
Agorist Nexus is out.
Peace.